Should we watch the spawn video? The spawn 20 versus 1? Like 5 minutes in, they brought me up in the video. So I kind of wanted to watch it and see what they had to say.
If we can't kill cancer, why would we just kill one tiny little bit of cancer? I don't think anyone can say that.
So if you have 200,000 people, can we fact check these?
I just told you 3 metrics. If we can't kill cancer, why would we just kill one tiny little bit of cancer? Like, that's just a pathetic way to approach issues.
I am not going to sit here and tell you that Riot Games has not made mistakes.
You guys are supposed to be good at this.
Damn. I like it. I like the energy that Spawn has. I would do this shit. I would love to do. If somebody could set this up for me, I would love to do this. Like the 20 versus 1 thing about League. Because I mean, all my opinions I've thought about, and I have reasons for everything that I believe about the game or about the industry or whatever. So I would like to have people come up and talk to me about them that actually hopefully thought about the issues as well. I would love to do this. This would be so fun for me.
Hey everyone, I'm Spawn, a professional League of Legends coach, and I'm surrounded by 20 Reddit coaches who think they know better than me. First topic, lane swaps are good for League of Legends and increase strategic diversity.
Reddit coaches, bro, that's Raz, that's Miss Chim Chim, that's a streamer. Wait, this is me here, or whatever his name is. I know some of these people.
So you think lane swaps are good for League of Legends? Like, do you just mean pro?
Oh, actually, yeah.
League of Legends as a
Closed
whole?
captions are
I just
Portuguese
think in general,
randomly.
People overhype the laning phase portion of the game and think that that's actually exciting, whereas...
By the way, I completely agree with this. I mean, I had the same take. I've literally had the same take. Lane swaps actually increase diversity. Lane swaps increase diversity because you don't have to only focus on champions that can lane. You can pick something that is like hard in lane in order to get an advantage like elsewhere, have a more cohesive draft and stuff like that.
In my experience, laning phases are actually quite monotonous and boring and extend the first 14 minutes of the game for no real reason. And I think lane swaps, and especially adding objectives on opposite sides of the map and allowing people to swap around the map from kind of 4.5 minutes nowadays, actually shows more strategic diversity and increases engagement as opposed to where the game was 8 years
I mean, just
ago.
look at it right now. When you're literally betting on games, the fact that they have created a situation where people are only laning means that there's more like stability within the game. There's less like plays that people are making. So there is less action in the game and there's less kills in the game now.
All right. I think I somewhat agree with you in terms of the strategic diversity
Very
point.
strange that you ran to the chair then.
Well, but the thing is, like, okay, increases strategic diversity at the top level of the game, but do you not see a problem that pro players are oftentimes playing a completely different game than everybody else?
No, I actually don't think they're playing a completely different game than everyone else. I think we're all playing League of Legends. You download it onto your PC and then you load in and you
Well, you guys are playing on Tournament Realm, actually, so, you know, different server.
We actually play on live server, live patch as well, so it's not even like we're playing a different version of the game. We're all playing the very same game of League of Legends.
I see, but... You know, that's not the game, you know, in terms of what's actually...
I mean, top laners getting farmed and be completely out of the game. Yeah, I mean, that's just not true. Like, you made that up in your head because you're like, so you're literally just, you're doing what the T1 fans do, where you're just like in a fucking cult of like, we're the anti-lane swap people. Like, top laners were some of the most important players. Zeus was the MVP of LCK, which is the best league in the world right now. And they won games through lane swapping, through his picks, like because he was able to lane swap on things like Olaf and he didn't have to care about, you know, straight up counters when he's blind picking on blue side. He was able to pick things that carried the entire game 1v9 later on in the game. Like, the game was based around him. You just lane swap in a way that benefits your top laner. Sometimes you lane swap in a way that benefits your AD carry. Sometimes you lane swap in a way that benefits your mid laner. Sometimes you lane swap in a way that benefits your jungler. Sometimes you lane swap in a way that benefits your top laner. It all just depends on what type of draft you have and what champions are important within your game. So you're trying to meet certain conditions. The enemy team's trying to meet other conditions. That's all it is.
Being played, the stuff that hits the rift. You know, if I'm random gold player Jerry, Jerry's going to go and turn on LCS. He's going to see Team Liquid lane swapping everywhere. He's going to have no idea what the hell's going on. You know? How is he supposed to go watch his favorite players and attach to them if he can't see their gameplay and see himself in that?
Hang on a second. Let me just get this.
So then why is like the NBA watchable? Because in the NBA, they have like the further back 3-point line. They have different rules in the NBA than they have in like, you know, your average basketball game. Like, even in terms of just the specific rules, the shot clock duration, stuff like that, how is NBA watchable then? You know, like, it's like, oh, there's just like different, I mean, there's just different parameters in another game that you're watching. Like, what does that mean? That means you just can't watch basketball anymore or what?
this straight. So I turn on a basketball game and I can't dunk, but some reason I can't actually enjoy the game of basketball. And
yes, I mean, wait, that's actually so funny that he went there instantly.
Dunking's different. That like dunking is the comparison where like if you see Sniper Riven go and get a crazy playoff, right? That's a mechanical play. That's what dunking is. But this would be like if all of a sudden you see.
We should remove all team aspect from team sports as well. So I watch NFL and I watch them run a very complicated set play.
Yeah.
That actually also should be removed from the NFL because I can't do that with my friends down at the park at the same time.
We actually have the same mindset. Respect, Spawn. I mean, I think about it the same way.
Man.
This one I'm happy to go for an hour, by the way. So bring as many people in here as you want.
Here we go.
Hello, my name is Paul Strang. I'm active duty military and I'm a top lane main. I think lane swaps suck. They're boring to play. And obviously
I don't think they're boring to play at all. They're so much more interesting to play. You realize that as a jungler in lane swaps, you're like deciding what wave you're going to dive them on. You're like, okay, are we diving them on this wave? Are we holding? Are we trying to get to lane? There's so much more to do than right now as a jungler. If you're not lane swapping, almost every single game you full clear, by the way. Like that's what you're actually doing. Almost every single game that you're not lane swapping will result in you full clearing.
Not really a part of the game that maybe people should care about. But at the same time, I think laning fundamentals is kind of like what makes players good. And that there's not many like other metrics to like determine like what makes this player good other than like just like maybe pure mechanics, right? Just like knowing how to lane is.
I hate the strategy argument because should we bring back roaming tops, funnel, and other degen stuff? I think that they should have been balanced. Like the stuff that's found to be OP, like you don't want every single game to be a funnel game or every single game to be a roaming support top game, right? Like that's not the ideal. If those things are balanced, they should be brought in line to the point where they are like still viable strategies that you can do sometimes, but they're not like auto win the way that they were when they were actually broken, when they just abused mechanics in the game. So the goal should be to balance a bunch of different strategies. Like you should be able to play more than just AD support bot lane. Like you should have a ton of strategies that are viable and then be able to pick the strategies that will best, in your mind, counter the team you're playing against.
I think a really important fundamental for players to have, and you can't really measure that when there's no laning base.
I think that knowing how to lane is not necessarily always knowing how to lane against your direct opponent. I think that if you are able to do that, but not be able to do that in a 2v1 situation, you actually don't know how to lane and you're missing a huge portion of the game. I think that also saying that one of the only key metrics of skill is how you participate in a 1v1 game when you're playing a 5v5 MOBA is very, very incorrect and probably shows why you're a top lane main and want to isolate yourself from the rest of the map.
That's fair enough. But at the same time, like if lane swaps are maintained, right? Like we run into metas where champions that hyperscale and or like you draft champions and you don't get punished, right? Like in the 1v1 matchup because you can just avoid it altogether. I think that's another problem in itself.
I think that problem can be, and this is what I mean, increasing strategic diversity as opposed to limiting it. I think that when people say that they enjoy watching people lane one-on-one, I actually think that there is a certain aspect of enjoyment in that. But if you pick a scaling lane and you're trying to avoid a lane bully lane, the onus then becomes on the team to be able to match. And I would say that is
and create the conditions that are good for your side of it. Like 100%, bro. He's on point with this. He's on fucking point with this. Like he's just thought about it. The thing is, I swear other people just don't think about it as much. Like that's just what it is. The people that live this shit day in and day out are just thinking about this shit more than people that don't live this shit day in and day out. And they turn on like LCS and they see a lane swap and it's different, it's changed, and they're like, what the fuck is this? I hate this, it's new, whatever. But like, I don't actually think that watching a million games of the same champions being played, like how often was it where people were just playing the same 5 champions over and over again in pro play? And now with Fearless, it's going to make it a little bit better, right? Or make it probably a lot better because there's Fearless draft. But even in these best of ones, it's like, how many top laners are we seeing? We're seeing Mbessa, Gwen. When some of those are banned, I mean, we see like sometimes we see some Gnar. We got to see like some counters to the OPs, but it's like every game just revolves around the same conditions, and I feel like it's so boring because a lot of the times, like the laning, when people are like, oh, I want to see skill matchups, it's very rare that like lanes are true skill matchups. Like in top lane, when the lane that people are complaining about the most is like top lane 1v1 like duels and stuff. like as somebody who literally did a fucking tournament where I played top lane, a lot of the way top lane works is just like knowledge based. It's like, which wave can I crash? When am I stronger than him? When do I need to base? It's like, can my jungler be here on certain timings? Like it's very like obvious how the lane plays, and it doesn't even really matter about like the player that's piloting the pick in the lane phase, because you're just going to play the lane the most optimal way. That's going to be based on like the research that everyone does. So when you have a bunch of the same champions being played, people get better and better at matchups to the point where like there's not as many outplays in the lane. People are just doing what they're supposed to.
Part of strategy is actually being,
and then like the way that these conditions are broken are through like jungle interaction or like mid lane roams or support roams, or here we're still seeing lane swaps. We're seeing like 4-minute lane swaps. Like that's how the situations actually get broken, as opposed to, oh, this guy is super good at fucking Mbessa, watch him like outplay this Gwen. It's like, no, the Gwen just like pushes and then bases on a good timer for the Gwen, comes back to lane with tabbies, and then the Gwen just like shits on him until Mbessa gets one item. Then when Mbessa gets one item, like he can kind of trade back in short trades, but he loses the long trades. Like everyone just kind of sees how the matchup goes. It just is what it is at a point.
It becomes very flowcharty. Game. You should not be able to win a game by simply picking a counter pick matchup and having that enforced from the start of the game. You should actually be skillful enough as a team to be able to hunt out that matchup around Summoner's Rift and be able to get that matchup so you can actually get your advantage. It should just not be given to you innately from the game.
Say like, you pick Cassandra and the enemy top laner picks Garen, like, it's a very polarizing matchup, right?
Yep.
So they should just able to be run away from the matchup they desire, and like maybe...
I would say if my bottom lane is good enough to be able to get push and tempo and then be able to swap into the Garen lane and put Garen behind, then that is actually a strategy that has helped the game. And I feel like if your bottom lane can't be able to block that, or your jungler is not able to add something, then you're actually not having good
Like the most interesting part of last game to me, right? And this is like, it's not a level 1 lane swap. The most interesting part of last game to me was when the bot lane ran top, they dove the Rumble once, but Rumble ulted the wave, and then BLG was proxying 3v3, and Weibo's bot lane couldn't re-enter, and then Weibo's bot lane ran across the map top, dove the Rumble again, and ended up getting first turret. Like that to me was like the most like interesting, like, oh shit, like they're doing different things here. That was the most interesting part of that game to me, over like the first 4 minutes of when they were just laning against each other. First like 5 minutes or whatever the swap was. That was actually way more entertaining.
That's what League of Legends is about.
I intentionally cut you off, sorry. I don't think Riot should appeal to pro players and the less than 1% of ELO players.
Can you explain your point?
I think Timmy, who ended season 13 at GM, doesn't really have a good take when he's just a Fiora one trick asking for things to be buffed. I think pro players most of the time, when they say this needs to be buffed, they are trying to benefit themselves more than the overall health of the game.
Okay, so
maybe when pros were less skilled than they are now. I don't think that's what pros do nowadays. That's mainly what one tricks do in high elo. That's like what challenger one tricks do mainly, not pros.
I think that pro players are very good at finding the most effective tactics available, which is what meta stands for.
Like lane swap.
Yeah, like lane swap, but just
that's in low elo, like gold.
But I mean, just in standard lanes as well, they're very good at finding the best champions that are going to stand up in standard lanes. Like I would trust a pro player to find the best answer to Kalista Renata, and not Timmy in Silver 2 to find the best answer to
But Timmy in
Kalista
Silver
Renata.
2 doesn't get paid to play the game. Timmy in Silver 2 is the majority of the player base. No, you are trying to appeal to the majority. This is why Fortnite...
I mean, it's hard, right? Because it's one of those things where I don't actually believe that if you just listen to like low elo players, even if they tell you that something, oh, well, this needs to be nerfed because then the game will be more fun, I don't think that they have good enough takes, or they've like thought enough about the game. Because I mean, generally that's what it is. The people that spend more time in the game are going to be better at the game. And I feel like they don't consider enough factors for it to be like I don't think they know what they want. I don't think the silver player, if you balance around what his ideals are, if you ask him, all right, what are the changes you want to League of Legends? And he wrote them all down, and then you end up fucking implementing them all into the game. I don't think that makes a better game. Like, I think the game is the most balanced when people that are putting all their time into it, the people that are at the highest level that are putting all their time into it, can share opinions, and the decisions are generally skewed towards them. I don't think that it should be only high-rated players matter, but I do think high-rated players should be represented more than low-rated players when it comes to like a value system of how we're buffing and nerfing the game. That's what I would say.
Did really well because they didn't listen to the pros most of the time. They listened to the people who paid the bills.
Yeah, so I understand that. But what I'm saying is that the changes that pro players
What's the next game?
actually don't impact the average
WE
people.
versus EDG? Okay, we watch it.
To
It
the
matters.
extent that you think that they
Do we watch
impact
draft?
them. For example, if I take 3 armor
Fuck, bro,
away
this video is actually more interesting to me. We'll watch draft. It's fine.
armor away from Garen, that actually impacts him in pro play, and in Silver 2 does not impact Garen at all.
But you don't think there's some things that pros just throw out there and you're just like...
Can you give me an example?
No, I can't. Obviously not. I'm not going to. I'm just here to like argue.
Okay.
But the point being, like, I think for the majority...
I mean, I feel like that's just like, I mean, it's funny, but it's also just like ridiculous. But yeah, I have this take that like, I think pros do frequently, and then it's like, can you remember? It's like when people accuse me of like, they're like, oh, Dom, you have like a ton of really fucked up takes, and I'm like, okay, what's one of my fucked up takes? And they're like, you're saying you don't have fucked up takes, bro? Are you telling me you don't have fucked up takes? It's like, well, just bring up one of my fucked up takes and let me defend one of my takes, because most of my takes I have a basis for. So if you talk about a take that I had on a team on a certain time, there's probably context that you're missing out on.
League to sustain itself,
I
to
think
be profitable.
systemically, so what I will say is I actually think you have a I don't even know
Call
whether
him
you
stupid.
understand your whole point. I think systemically, Riot don't balance the game around pro play. They balance the way that you want to play the game, and then individual champion wise.
But you always see pro players just being like, Riot needs to do this, Riot needs to do that.
Yeah, and they don't ever listen to them.
Really?
Yes, really. Give me an example.
I'm trying to think. They took out Hextech and stuff.
Hextech what?
The Chemtech.
Chemtech? Yeah, that was not because of pro play.
But they did that
was
to
because
make it
they hated
overall
the
better.
trade.
They did it for the overall betterment of the game, not just for pro players.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's literally his argument, bro. How lost is this guy?
It's a great
What?
change.
Yeah.
Wait, do you know what point you're arguing? You're on the other side. Like, man, I can't stand people like this.
That's what I'm saying. So you're agreeing with what I just said. System-wise, they balance the
System-wise,
game for
yes.
everyone to play.
For everyone, but
and then
not-
individual
not the pro
champion-wise, they
players.
hit.
He's saying that he doesn't think that Riot should appeal to pro. What?
Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah.
So you're saying Riot shouldn't change the way they balance the game. I agree. They balance the game well.
But yeah, so we're in agreement.
This is like scary. It's like he can't remember what he said literally 2 minutes ago. Like, everyone's laughing, but like to me, I would be like really stun locked.
Co-streaming is inherently bad for League of Legends.
Ooh.
I feel like co-streaming actually brings in a lot more viewers as opposed to just the general League of Legends broadcast. I mean, don't get me wrong, I watch League with my dad, and when we watch, we go ahead and watch the normal broadcast because it's a lot easier for him to digest, you know, like Captain Flowers, Azael, you know, all those people. It's really easy for them to actually, like, explain the game and everything. But when I watch it myself, it's I love watching Dom. I feel like he breaks down the game in a lot more analytical of a
Hey,
view.
respect. Hey, respect.
And if I were not to watch it with my dad, I would way more rather watch it with Dom.
Yeah, so
Okay.
back in my day, when if you would rather watch it with Dom, then there was an onus on Riot.
Then Riot should pay me to do it for them, but they're not going to do that, right? Like they would have to pay me what my value actually is.
Games to go offer Dom a salary to make him be on the main broadcast, and then that makes the main broadcast better. They did it with people like Crepo, Deficio, Cadril originally. Now there's a better attractive option for Dom to not be on the main broadcast. It actually hurts the main broadcast, and only 4,000 people watch Dom. So I would say that
Hey,
that isn't good for League
We
of
got 5,000 people in here, motherfucker. Fuck you, Spawn. 4,000 people. Got 5,000.
Legends.
But if we're talking about the
don't
4,000
disrespect
people that
me.
watch Dom, what about like the 50, 60, 70,000 people that watch Cadril? What about like the 100,000 people that watch Abai? I feel like it brings in...
But I mean, like, this is the thing, right? At this point, it's hard to imagine me doing anything else because I literally nuked what I was already doing. Like, so I was a gameplay streamer before this. And I have the ability to analyze the game. This is something that I could have done back in 2019. Even when I retired as a pro player, that probably would have been the time for them to try to, like, make a move because it would have been comparable. Like, they could have probably offered me a comparable salary at that time in 2016 compared to what I was making my first year on Twitch. But what ended up happening is that, like, over the years, I grew my stream, you know, by the end of like 2017, 2018, I had really good income, which is like much more than what a caster salary would be. And they didn't want to pay me. They would never pay me what that value is. Like they can't justify, like back in 2016, I don't know, 2018, like a salary they would have to offer me to make me want to be on the Riot broadcast would have to be at least, they could offer me slightly less than what I was making streaming because I would still be able to like grow my brand and stuff like that. But it would have to be in the ballpark, which we're talking like, they probably would have had to offer me like $450,000 to $500,000 in 2018. And there's no way they can justify that at the time. So it's like this weird situation where I don't have to co-stream, right? Like now at this point, it feels like I have to co-stream because I've developed so much time, or I put so much time into it, and I've killed off the other part of my brand. But I used to be a solo queue content creator, and there was other things that I was like doing at the time. Like I was fucking going on Raw shows and stuff. I was doing some like shitty IRL content, but people liked it for some reason. So if I went more in that direction, I probably would have been fine. So it's like at that point, they can't actually pay for people. Like right now with what Cadril makes, I mean, I would assume that Cadril's making minimum, absolute minimum, 5-6 million a year. And that's like at minimum, probably making more than that. They don't pay the whole LEC production team, all the casters that at this point. So it's like you open the door to it and now we're like kind of stuck here.
So many more people.
So I think a buy is a little bit different because it's actually a different language broadcast when we're talking about English-speaking League of Legends. Yeah. So I'm going to park that situation because I actually don't think you can transfer.
I mean, at this point, it's like, it would, like now it's kind of like they're stuck with it, right? They opened the door to co-streaming. I mean, co-streaming felt like a cheat code when I started doing it. It's like, wait, I could watch these games on. I thought that co-streaming would never exist. I don't think it made sense for them to open up co-streaming.
Those people, but my gut feeling is that the 100,000 people that watch
It's different. You being on broadcast wouldn't create such a personal experience. Official broadcast drowns out personalities, but I could do what Cadril did and also stream on the side. I could stream on the side and be on the broadcast. And I mean, I don't know. I think that I can get my personality across on broadcast. Like generally the feedback I've got from when I do broadcast stuff, like it's even like I wouldn't behave much differently on a Riot Games official broadcast than I did when I went on like Cadril's League Awards, right? Like that would just be, that's like my on-camera broadcast, like clean it up a little bit personality. Me on my stream, I'm fucking mentally ill. Obviously, I'm saying just crazy shit. I know how to clean it up for a broadcast because I've done it before. So like, I think I would still be able to make the game fun, especially, dude, co-streaming, when you're watching like 8 games in a row, or we're doing these days where like by the end of LTA, I've done like 15 hours in a row. That's like, the quality is going to go down because you're just streaming for so long. But if I had to cast like 2 games a day, if there was like 2 games to fully focus and analyze, bro, I would be on top of that shit. Like that shit would be crispy. Like you'd get great information there. So it's one of those things where like, yeah, I mean, it would have been something where they would have needed to be able to figure out which people have the potential, offer them comparable salaries early on, because at this point it just doesn't make sense. Like you can't afford me, you can't afford Cadril, you can't afford like the people that have the biggest English speaking co-stream. So now it's just kind of cooked. But before, I think that they would have had the chance to make it good. And I mean, I'm somebody who's always like loved the LCS, right? So if I was, obviously when I'm critical of it when I do talk shows and stuff like that, but if I was part of the product, I could be critical of it in a way where I'm trying to make the product better. And I've even offered like Riot Games, I've literally offered them to like create segments for them for free back in like 2021, 2022. And they just like denied. I made like even like a full proposal. I'm like, this would be a good segment. Here's like somebody I can bring on. This would be hilarious. Let's just like do this before. And they're like, oh, that's a cool idea. Never got back to me on it. I don't know.
Cadril used to watch the main broadcast and now don't watch the main broadcast, which is terrible for sponsorship. All Cadril does is screech over every single ad roll being played. Like, I don't even know how Riot is monetizing this shit anymore.
Yeah, bro. Like, I think that's kind of fucked up from Cadril. What I do is I just make fun of the ads and I go, would you look at that? Wow.
He used to be on the broadcast and left the broadcast because co-streaming was more popular. You're literally proving my point that we are missing the S-tier talent off the Riot game.
Yeah, I mean, literally, this is what they do in the NBA. Like, they don't allow you to co-stream the NBA. The top tier people that they think are really good on broadcast, they pay them millions of dollars to have them do the analyst desk, to do inside the NBA, to cast the games. They have Reggie Miller casting the games. They have, Mark Jackson was a former player and coach casting the games. They give these people payment that's comparable to what they're worth, and then they incentivize them to do it. But there's like Riot has always been on the cheaper side with stuff like that. So then they're just now they're kind of going through the co-streaming model. And for Riot, I think the way that they view it is in the long term, it'll be a huge thing if the sponsors are not getting the revenue that corresponds with how much viewership there is on their product. But a lot of sponsors, even at the highest level, don't do enough work to determine whether or not their marketing is worthwhile or not. They'll just look at like the overall numbers. So Riot is able to be like, okay, everyone who co-streams uses this hashtag. These are the numbers watching. We can promote this product to this amount of people. And a lot of companies also, when they're dealing with that many people, care more about like brand awareness than actual conversions. Like these top tier companies that sign multi-million-dollar contracts, they care more about people just hearing like, oh, the Red Bull ad. Like, oh, you hear Red Bull gives you wings, and you show like a Red Bull ad. And like, even if you don't get your money back in terms of the people that are actually watching, going out and buying Red Bull, it's like the awareness and like keeping them at the top in terms of like the echelon of energy drinks or whatever is worthwhile to them, that they want to be like the most known energy drink in a lot of different spaces. So it's kind of like it's like really gray when you try to get into a lot of this stuff.
Broadcast, because it's better to be the co-streamer at the moment.
But let's go back to Ibai for a second.
Yeah.
Do you think Riot Games would actually make a non-English broadcast? I mean, look at the LPL. They just completely nuked the English broadcast right there. So do you think having another language, even like more maybe Spanish, more like Portuguese, other...
Bro sounds jealous right now. If he co-streams hit Cadrils, you wouldn't be yapping. Brother, I'm on Cadril's side. I'm a co-streamer. Are you talking about him?
Other like languages would be better?
I mean,
or are you just like Cadril viewer coming in and being like, does this guy say something negative about Cadril? Bro, I'm a co-streamer like Cadril. So I benefit from co-streaming existing. I just think that ideally what Riot should have done is maintain control of the product, and they should have hired people like me and Cadril to be part of the broadcast originally before co-streaming was a thing.
In other sports, as the broadcast,
like, I do think that what Spawn's saying does make sense.
Sure, that's what they do, and they're able to bring in more money for the product from those audiences. So I would say in the ideal world, yes, a buy would eventually be on an official broadcast.
But we've seen League go for like 10 plus years already. They haven't done it.
Yeah,
so
and be completely mismanaged. Once again, I love everyone's argument about League of Legends is we haven't ever been able to solve this issue, so we should just stop trying to solve the issue. Like, that's just a pathetic way to approach
bro, can you go
issues.
live? Bro, when you're not live, my chat becomes a war. It's just a complete war zone. Jesus Christ.
I don't know. I thought there would be more people. So you've been talking a lot about how it's diminishing quality on return and stuff like that. How is it that other esports, Valorant, Call of Duty, Rocket League, all these other profitable esports have these big co-streamers and they're actually adding a lot of value?
Can you show me the metrics in which any of those esports are profitable? Because
profitable,
they're not. They're profitable in the way of like, they're not directly profitable, but there's an argument for the fact that they're like marketing the game, but none of these esports are actually profitable. You know why none of these esports are profitable? Because all you motherfuckers out there are cheap as hell. You motherfuckers don't buy shit. Esports audience doesn't buy anything, bro. They don't buy anything. You could be like, here's like a 5-course meal. We're offering it for $2. They'll be like, fuck you and give me my free esports. Bro, if you play an ad, people lose their mind. Like, what the fuck is this ad? You greedy, disgusting fucking pig. You cheap motherfuckers, man. Act broke to stay rich, I guess.
Been the wrong word, but it's actually very good for it in the end. Tarek, I'm trying to think of the optic guy from...
Dude, it's the same take that I've always had on this shit, bro. It's the same take that I've always had on this shit. Most things that are worthwhile watching, like things that I actually enjoy, NBA, NFL, UFC, I'm willing to pay for. I'll pay for a subscription model. Like, I'll pay for NBA TV, or YouTube TV rather, which is like $60 a month to watch NBA games, because I'm like, bro, I watch NBA almost every single day. $2 for an NBA game, or even if I watch it every other day, $4 to watch my team play that I enjoy watching. Totally worth it, bro. Totally worth it. I pay $400 a year just to watch 16 or 17 games of the Miami Dolphins, which are the most disgusting, pathetic fucking franchise in the history of sports, because I like them, because I am mentally ill. And when I was 5 years old, I picked the team and I allowed it to ruin my life for the last 30 years. If esports is not worth, like, if they were to do some type of subscription model, or it was partnered with something and you had to go somewhere to watch it, and it's not worth a small fee, if you can get like 500, 600 hours of pro League of Legends content a month for like $5, and that's just not worth it to you, then the product is fucking dog shit and it deserves to die. Just is what it is. I said this shit like 5 years ago. I still have the same take. If it's actually that fucking worthless, then fuck it. You know, like let's just fucking make everyone's life better, blow it up, and then go to something that's actually has some value.
Scump.
Yeah.
You also have people in Valorant as well. They're huge co-streamers that are bringing an influx of people that are helping the scene overall.
How are they helping the scene?
They're bringing more exposure to it.
Okay, so
what are your metrics for it?
I'm saying that when League of Legends had the best broadcast talent on the mainstream, the numbers on the mainstream were higher. And I believe, because as someone that has sold League of Legends sponsorship in the past, that having a really high number on your mainstream makes it very easy for you to be able to take it to sponsors and be able to package up a
But Riot just includes the co-streamers and everything,
yeah,
don't
and
they?
then you have to show them. And as I said, I just don't think that I don't think anyone can say.
I mean, what probably needs to happen is, I mean, they could just be like, hey, you're taking our broadcast. They could make stricter sponsorship rules, or they would need to like include the streamers maybe at a smaller rate than like not 1-to-1, but at a smaller rate. They would need to include the co-streamers in the sponsorship deals of the products so that the co-streamers like had some incentive to actually show stuff. Either they like force you, which would be like, kind of in bad taste, or you just like, you know, you incentivize the co-streamers in some way to sell the product. Because the thing is, let's say like a streamer like Cadrel or I has a co-streaming audience. If we're co-streaming, we have a more direct connection to the viewers than the overall broadcast has. Like people feel more connected to, like if I'm, you know, let's say I partnered with Oppo and I just start singing, I do the fucking commercial. Take a look at that. Wow, I put a fucking commercial together and then I'm selling Oppo cameras and phones or whatever. I can get higher percentage of conversion with my 5,000 viewers than they could for 5,000 viewers. Like if they have 60,000 viewers, they're not going to get, you know, okay, let's say I get 5 and they get 60. They're not going to get 12 times the amount of conversion because the people that are watching co-streamers feel more linked to the co-streamers and they're more willing to support the products that the co-streamers promote. So there would have to be some type of split there.
So if you have 200,000 people, if you have 200,000 people watching Tark and like over 500,000 people watching the Valorant stream, you don't think that's a problem? You think that's a problem?
I think that's a massive problem. Because you have absolutely no way to police a language that Tarek uses. You have no way to police Tarek's brand. There's no way that you can actually use Tarek.
I mean, you can police the stuff. I mean, the way is that you just fucking ban them like they did to me. I like how I'm always the fucking guinea pig for these bans. It's like the same shit happened as a pro player. When do pro players get fucking banned? Pro players get banned for like the most crazy shit nowadays. It's like, yeah, this Yaharong guy murdered somebody in Vietnam, so we're probably not going to have him play League of Legends anymore. Or like this guy just, you know, rigged games gambling wise, and threw games on purpose and violated like the spirit and the integrity of the rules. Like this is what people do to fucking get banned nowadays. For me, it was like, bro, this guy fucking was really mean in solo queue to random people. Like it's like, come on, bro. It's actually ridiculous. Like people don't get banned anymore. I went through a ban wave where it's like they just banned like 10 pro players. It's like 10, 12 pro players. Let's just show we mean business about the community. And it's not like pro players are so much nicer in solo queue now. It's like, oh well, you guys were just terrible people. And coincidentally, no one after that ever ended up, you know, saying anything fucked up in solo queue now. Bro, you have literally examples of players being fucking racist on stream, saying you have pro players who said, quote, the only good Chinese is a dead Chinese. You literally have that just saying racist shit like that on stream, and it's like 2-game ban. And then the organization might suspend them for longer, but it's like, you get a couple games or you get a week or something like this. Like you can do crazy shit and not get the punishments that we got back in the day. Who said that? It was On Fleek, right? Wait, On Fleek, only good. Yeah, the only good Chinese is a dead Chinese. He wrote a report that said this on Fleek. He got banned by his own organization, but he got a 3 competitive match ban and 900 USD ban for this. I got banned for a full year, which was like a contract that probably would have been around like $45,000 at the time. I got like that when I had no fucking money, so that meant a ton to me. And a year of my career where I could have like increased my value because I was actually somebody at the time, like I went to Worlds right before I got banned. So I was in the top tier of the region in terms of like competition. So yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's always this type of stuff where they can't just ban you, but just don't. But whatever. Let's go into this. BLG is just going to clap EDG or what?